to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania to give the most vicious, hateful, and divisive speech ever delivered by an American president, vilifying 75 million citizens plus another probably 75 to 150. Do we want to be accurate about it? As threats to democracy and as enemies of the state. You're all enemies of the state. Who's an enemy of the state? You want to know the truth? The enemy of the state is him and the group that control him, which is circling around and do this, do that, Joe. You're going to do this, Joe, right? I think Philadelphia was a great choice to make this speech of hatred and anger. His speech was hatred and anger. By the way, the next morning he forgot what he said. You saw it. They asked him about, I didn't think I said that, did I?
Welcome to Burn Babylon Burn. This is not a news show. It's an opinion show. We encourage you to do your own research. We do not give financial, legal, medical, or any kind of advice. Now enjoy the show.
Welcome to Burn Babylon Burn. Former President Trump responding to a pretty interesting State of the Union, wouldn't you say?
Definitely, I would say it's very interesting. I'm not sure if that was a State of the Union or not.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Pretty sure they got the timing wrong, but
oh man. So
if that was a State of the Union, Trump did a State of the Union for 2 hours and Biden did one for 25 minutes.
Well, he doesn't have that energy, but man, it was all red and freaky. It kind of looked like straight out of V for Vendetta. A lot of people have made the comparisons there, and other fascists throughout history.
I just
want
to understand this one thing. Optics wise, has the person who designed the thing been fired? Because that is the worst possible setup you could possibly do. It was Mussolini, Hitler, V for Vendetta. It was literally all, if you think of something fascist and put it in a movie,
don't forget Star Wars.
That's what it was. Star Wars.
I'm pretty sure
Wars
Kylo Ren had a background like that in the new Star Wars movie.
He did.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was also the where they do the two X's. That was the Red Skull from Captain America.
Oh right. But to be fair, if you zoom out, there's some blue beyond the red next to the armed guards who hardly moved at all. It's like they were like beefeaters, just standing there very, very still. But
it still doesn't make any sense. Democrats have blue colors. Democrats have blue colors. Trump is more likely to have been somebody filmed in that light because he's a Republican president. And we've got this guy, incompetence is the only thing I can say. Incompetence or straight up gaslighting. Like something went wrong.
I think they knew exactly what they were doing the whole time. I mean, everything's out of his hands. He doesn't really do.
And then the next part of that is that that whoever decided to do this did this on purpose, and they're coming after you, as if we didn't already know.
Yeah. Well, Scott
Wait a
Adams
second.
looks like he's.
I'm not hearing you now. Something happened.
Is it back?
Are you muted?
Nope. I think your headphones might have died though.
Hey, can you hear me? Are you there?
I can hear you.
It seems like you're muted. I can hear things through my headset, but I'm not hearing you.
Everything's good on my end.
I don't know what's going on, but I'm pretty sure it's on your end.
I don't have any headphones. Unmute. I can hear you fine. Can you hear me now? Hello?
I have no idea what that was. But
Is this better?
yeah. I hope you filled that time. Did you?
It paused.
Oh, okay. It paused on your end?
No, it didn't pause on mine. Mine's working better than it's ever worked.
Oh, okay. Weird. I have no idea why it did that. But anyway, where were we?
Building another conspiracy theory about why every podcast we do gets messed up.
Oh yeah. Well, I think it's just the equipment. You know, I can't have professional equipment the way I travel around. If I lived in the same truck all the time, I could have a really cool setup. But I go through airports all the time, and anything technology has to go in my carry-on, so I can't really get something like that on this end.
Well, you've got to work with what you got, but that ties into the
working with what we got. And what's cool though, go ahead.
I was saying that ties into the incompetency of what they did on this on the speech. It just made no sense.
It was completely intentional. They are making this declaration. It's like Jeff Dice says, they are going to punish you for selecting Trump. That's the intention here. This will go beyond this. This isn't just idle words. They're not making idle threats. They're really coming after us at this point. And
Biden really likes the F-15 analogy.
Apparently he sure does. He sure does.
And he's never heard of Afghanistan either, apparently. right. Just, it's right there. You botched the entire draw out from the war, dude. You messed everything up on an epic level, and then you basically act like they weren't able to. They won the war, and they won the war because they used guerrilla tactics, and they had guns. And your response to us wanting guns is, well, I can take you out with the F-15. You didn't take all them out.
He recently did say that he intends to take AR-15s away from people. So they're really coming after things. This is interesting because it's playing out like a movie in a lot of ways. You know, guy steals an election and then just goes completely totalitarian. It's playing out like history, like a movie. It's, you know, exactly as they intended as well.
But the fun thing is we've got a constitution, we've got states' rights. They can't overturn state election laws. Biden has done a great job fortifying the states so they can't have the same shenanigans happening, the honking happening that happened in the last one.
Well, they can't as easily.
But that's a good way to say, yeah.
Yeah, they're being watched, but what happened? So they're being watched. Next time they get caught, and we get months and months of gaslighting. I'm not even sure about some of the recent elections, because it seems to me like Sabatini, for instance, was really popular in Florida, and then he ends up getting 1/3 of the vote or so, and just getting completely trounced by a mainstream Republican, you know, somebody that Biden would like. So I think that there's still shenanigans going on. Sarah Palin recently in Alaska, they had the ranked choice voting, and the Rhino became the candidate. So, or actually, no, the Democrat won.
The Democrat won, yeah. Yeah, I was about to say, what are you talking about? But no, the Democrat won. But the fun thing in this one is they're desperate. I think they overplayed their hand.
Did they?
They
The power is being distributed to them still, and they already have control, and they're getting more.
In Alaska in general, specifically talking about Alaska, this is a special election. They have the power for until November. There's a new election that's going to happen there.
Gotcha. Okay.
So they tried the ranked vote choosing, ranked voting, or whatever it's called. They tried that. It was a confusing system. Sarah Palin lost by 2% or something like that, and it was
there's going to be a big backlash.
It was, yeah, but it's most likely old people didn't understand the new system. Now they see the reaction. They're like, F, why didn't she win? This should be Alaska is a major red state. I mean, it's more conservative than it is libertarian, like red. And so they're probably going to look at the results and go, well, I have to figure out why I messed up, how I messed up, because I guarantee you it was 100,000 people that just weren't taught how to properly fill out the ballot.
I think a lot of the people that go there to work don't actually have residency there, and then there is a lot of native populations who have been propagandized by the Democrats for years and years. So there's that, and then there's a couple of major cities. I'm pretty sure when I was looking at a map that Fairbanks is a blue dot amongst a sea of red.
Oh, there's a good chance on that, but still, it's an oil state. As an oil state, they're losing massively. But
the workers are seasonal, so they're only there during the summer for the most part, and a lot of, well, not always, but a lot of the prime season where people are pulling stuff out of the ocean, and the prime work season, it's probably extremely red. But then whenever winter rolls around, it probably becomes a little more blue. And this is the height of the summer. So
something happened there. I side with Styx Hexenhammer on this one. His opinion, and I agree with him on this one, is that it simply was down to, it was a new election system and people weren't educated in it. The older people that are especially, they just didn't check off all the boxes. They're used to checking one name, not one name and then another name underneath it. And that's most likely how it happened. I think the Democrat won with like 35 to 40% vote.
Okay.
She's going to get trounced, I think, because luckily it is a special election. But
I hope so, because it's been a stronghold for years, and a lot of the strongholds are getting weak. I'm noticing a lot of weakness when I'm in Texas, for instance, and things have to swing the right way if the Democratic route, which is the one that's on the table, is the one that's going to be the one to change things.
But as certain things shift, other things shift. Florida used to be a swing state. Now Florida is solidly red. Texas seems a little wobbly, but I think that's mostly a facade that they're trying to put up. I don't think they're going to be able to hold their momentum in Texas. Mexicans are Mexican Americans are swinging over. Legal Mexican American, legal immigrants are swinging heavily towards the libertarian side / Republican side. So there's a lot of swing that's happening in the right direction.
There is a trend with that, but I was just discussing this morning in one of my Telegram groups. We were talking about that, and a lot of Mexican men don't vote, and I think it's partly because they don't want to influence the culture, but now they are the prevailing culture in Texas. That's demographically true at this point.
Yeah. But as long as they're working hard and moving forward, as long as they're actually producing and doing something, not sitting back and living off the government. It's time for them to step up as well. So, like my grandparents were immigrants to the U.S. My grandparents on my mom's side, and they moved here and they produced. They worked in industries. They designed stuff. I mean, those are designs of my granddad's houses that he built up in Washington State. That's what we need is to actually we need to focus on a society that understands you have to take risks and you have to move forward and you can actually build and make something great in America. Whenever it comes to policies that put us back on our laurels, people sitting around living off the government, that's what we need to make sure dies. We need to get rid of that attitude. And that's why I love the legal immigrants from Mexico that are moving over here legally, because that's their attitude. I never run into a Mexican that's sitting around and doing nothing. But then again, I don't live in a big city where the cartels run. So
I see a lot of masks in the border towns, and it gives me a lot of concern. I see a lot of compliancy and just not yeah, it's something that concerns me. I think the border towns are trouble, and that's because I'm in them all the time. And I know Bannon says that McAllen is turning red, but I was just in McAllen and I was seeing a lot of masked zombies everywhere.
what are the chances that they're just illegal immigrants that don't want their faces captured on a video cam?
Well, I mean, hey, they're allowed in at this point. That's been the regime for the past almost 2 years now. So
Yeah.
Yeah, just come on in, guys.
Yes. That whole note is crazy. I liked Scott Adams had a interesting idea where he said we should give all the illegal immigrants, they should all get a government phone, and if they ever get contacted on the government phone, then they're going to be immediately put up on the list for deportation. But as long as you have your phone on you, like it's kind of a compromise. It's just
well, they are giving them phones. They have been giving them phones. They're just using them to let them have a phone. Here's your free Obama phone. Welcome to the United
but they're
States.
already trying to track us through all this other stuff. It's like, look, these are illegal immigrants. They don't have the same, they don't they don't have the same legal protection as we do. So yes, you can actually track those guys. Track them.
No, they're a protected class. The thing is, we're the ones under attack. That's how this regime works. That's basically the declaration of war that Biden just made, and this is the same thing this is the open society that Soros wants, and we have to stop it, or else we're in a lot of trouble.
I'm so glad that the Mises Caucus took over the Libertarian Party, because that was getting annoying hearing about open borders from those idiots. I can't even remember what branch of Libertarian Party they were, but that was driving me nuts. It's like, okay, we've got the Mises Caucus in there now. I can stop listening to open borders. Finally.
I'm glad the Libertarian Party is no longer an embarrassment, but they are making some mistakes that I don't like. I don't like the way that they're utilizing their mainstream candidates. They're trying to get them to run for bigger offices, and instead of using that to instead of getting somebody who's more mainstream, because you can get a Shane Hazel or a Spike Cohen or a Justin Amash into a position where they're actually going to be useful. Justin Amash was already in a position where he was actually useful and quit because he's a Lulbert and he doesn't like Trump. So he could have actually been in there influencing change, helping out Thomas Massey, but he's not doing that because he's a Lulbert and he wants to run for the Libertarian presidency, which will be another embarrassment. And he's not doing anything useful. Shane Hazel, it's going to divide the vote in Georgia, and he could be Sheriff Shane Hazel. He could be Congressman Shane Hazel. He could go for some smaller position because he's got some name recognition, but instead he wants to go for some position where he's pulling just a couple of percent, but it's a couple of percent that could swing things to where Georgia could be run by Stacey Abrams, and that would be terrible.
To me, it's amusing, like for me working with people over the years and watching people over the years, how much pride factors in. It's like, hey, if you can be a team player and still, be working on your own. You can just be, be independent, etc. It's not like you have to fall in line, but you can be a team player and help build up the foundation of the direction that we're trying to make sure that the nation goes in. And instead, no, you need to jump up in the head and split the vote and all this other stuff. It's like,
Right, yeah.
let's get the foundation solid first. Like I've worked with business partners in the past, and they want attention, they want to be noticed. It's like, dude, like, slow down just a little bit, just drop the attitude. I'm only going to become wealthy if I help other people become wealthy, and I want, for example, this other guy to be one of the guys I help become wealthy. And then he jumps the gun because he's like, "Oh, I'm not there yet." It's like, dude, slow down. And that's what it seems like the Libertarian Party might be doing that some. Just slow down just a little bit.
It's the egos. It's the egos amongst them. Otherwise, I think that it's in good hands. I really I think that Angela McArdle's amazing, and so also Josh Smith, awesome. I love some of the stuff that Josh says, but they're great people, and I'm glad that they have it. I just don't see myself supporting a libertarian candidate in the position that we're in right now. And the position that we're in right now is that right. We're in a position where they basically said that they're going to disarm us and imprison us, like the people that are in prison for the fake riot in January of 2 years ago that they seem to never shut up about. So they had an entire summer of rioting and killed a lot of people, and then they're sitting here saying that those people were armed. They weren't armed. Everybody knows they weren't armed. And the more they tell their lie, the less we believe it, but they're still able to get that out there in the mainstream.
Yeah, well, I mentioned to you the podcast that I listened to earlier today with Styx Hixenhammer, and part of the problem, his name's escaping my head off the top of my head.
Smith.
Dave Smith. So yeah. The main takeaway from listening to them debate, and it was a really great debate. Like, there was context was all around, but like they're both very well versed, etc. In the topics that they're discussing. But to me, walking away from it, Dave Smith, because the topic was, should Trump win again? Basically, should we put our power behind making sure Trump wins the next presidency or not? And Dave Smith's attitude was Trump did not do enough. Styx Hexenhammer, his attitude was he didn't start any new wars. He's the best president we had since first term Reagan. And beyond that, he's probably the best president we had in the last 100 years, if not longer.
Well, a lot of things that Trump didn't do, he got in trouble for things he didn't do, obviously. There wasn't any of the collusion and stuff like that all the attention was on. But there was things that did happen, and the bump stock ban, we'll ban them, and we'll deal with the law later. That stuff's coming to bite us right now. They're aiming to make pistol braces illegal, or make it to where you have to register your pistol brace as a short-barreled rifle. Things are coming out of this because we had somebody who supposedly was on our side, and he made legislation that went against our Second Amendment, and he did it without consulting Congress. Even that was by executive order. That was in response to an obvious psyop, if you look at it, the Vegas shooting, because they don't want you to look at that. Keep looking at that Vegas shooting, because there's a lot going on there that does not add up.
Yeah, I still hear about the school shootings. Haven't heard about this Vegas shooting in like a year or so.
Oh, you hardly heard about it after it happened. They wanted you to look away from it. In fact, a lot of the witnesses no longer are breathing. So that's how that one went down. That's pretty creepy. But as far as Trump goes, there's a big thing that I have a problem with him on, and our guy Alex Jones agrees with me on that. And so this is a response from Alex Jones, because we heard his emergency warning a couple of weeks ago on the show, and we've gotten some information back. So I'm going to play that clip right here.
So I gave Trump until the 23rd of September to, not an ultimatum, but just a point of time to say, you're not part of this. We know the Democrats tried to make it mandatory. We know the Democrats tried to make people take it. You're against making the military take it. You're against kids taking it. That's a great thing you've done, Trump. You're already way better than them. We just don't want them to blame you now for what they've done. And his answer is, no, I back it. That's it. So I'm done talking about Trump. I'm not attacking Trump. I'm not supporting Trump. I'm going to support people like Bolsonaro and DeSantis that are coming out saying the shot doesn't work. We were lied to. It's a fraud. I'm not against Trump. I don't hate Trump. I'm not his enemy. But he took $1 million from Pfizer, which is not that much to be bought out by. And that's not why he's doing this. He said he's the vaccine man. He said he saved hundreds of millions of people. He led Operation Warp Speed. And so he can't admit he was wrong. And that is his decision.
That's a big problem. That's been his big problem. He can't admit he's wrong. He doesn't. He acts like a child, really, in so many ways. You're gonna have to turn your mic on.
There we go.
Yeah.
It's the pivot, though. This is the persuasion pivot. The majority of Americans have taken the vaccine. He can't come out and win an election if he says what you and me believe about the vaccine. That's not going to work. So he has to top the fact that he was the one.
What about all the people that are having problems from it, though?
It's being whitewashed by the media.
Right, but those people are going to be people that are trying to get somebody who won't do something so terrible to them.
But they're brainwashed. They're plebs. You're trying to
No, I'm talking about people that are vaccine injured that are looking for somebody who didn't promote these things. And if it's between Trump and Biden, both of them promoted them.
From a persuasion game, Trump has to switch into this mode. It's Trump.
So what's the body count got to be before he pivots?
In order to win elections, the body count has to be high enough to where the entire population, not the entire, but a majority of the population swings into anti-vaccine. Right now, he can't run in that direction. He's caged in. It's the same thing as it's the same thing as somebody running, for example, on legalizing marijuana on a federal level. Like it takes time. Like you'd alienate huge voting blocks and you'd guarantee a loss. Because of the position that we're in, he has to, for him, the majority of the public is against the vaccine mandates. So he's never spoken out in favor of vaccine mandates okay. So he can get behind that and keep the momentum going. He can't backtrack and go against the vaccine, period. He can go against.
But there's other people backing off of it, including the Democrats. They're backing off of it because they are starting to realize things, and I think this was all part of the intention of this situation, was because he married himself so much to these vets.
The intention is to stay on this stuff.
Yeah, but from a business perspective, from somebody that's a business owner, like from a business perspective, you see a problem, you try to solve the problem. That's what you do. you look at the problem, you address the problem, and you try to do everything you can to solve that problem and move forward. You lost headphone, didn't you? Yep, you lost it. But I think Trump is playing the best game he can currently. He's playing the game with the hand that was dealt him. And from everything I understand from the speech that he did the other night, he's swinging the opinion back in his favor. He's swinging the momentum back in his favor. He's doing what's necessary with the cards that he currently has. And Biden gave him a really, really great hand the other night. And
he did, but DeSantis is not on these vaccines, and he had a response to Biden's speech the other day too, and here it is.
Well, I thought it was one of the most disgusting speeches an American president has ever given. He ran as being a unifier, and he's basically saying to the vast majority of the country that disapproves of him that they're effectively a threat to the republic. He dodders, he lashes out, but at the end of the day, his policies are why there's so much opposition to him. He came in and he opened the border, and we've seen what a disaster that's been. He kneecapped American energy. We've seen how that's hurt millions and millions of people across our country. They've inflated the currency. We have one of the worst inflations we've had in over 40 years. So, of course, people are going to be upset at all the wreckage that he's left in his wake. He is the American Nero. He's a failed leader, and I think that he is doing this because he's trying to energize his base to fend off a real butt whipping this November.
The American Nero.
Well said. And so he's not promoting these vaccines. He hired Joseph Ladapo as his health guy there in Florida, and they've been really solid about this stuff. I think DeSantis is great in Florida. I think we need more governors like him, and a few more years of DeSantis in Florida will be a good thing. But I think at some point DeSantis should be the president of this country.
Preferably
based off of
preferably
his consistency. And yeah, he can't. I don't think anybody can stop the Trump train. As much as that, I have a ton of problems with him, and I'm sure that on Liberty Lockdown episode that you just listened to with Dave Smith and Styx, that Dave Smith probably laid out every single one of the problems that I have with Trump. Now, the thing is, I don't think that there's any stopping him. And there's a bunch of people out there. I was in a bathroom today in a truck stop right here in New Mexico, and somebody scraped into the toilet paper dispenser. I would F Trump. Like, somebody wants to have homosexual relations with the former president and felt so passionately about it that he etched it into the toilet paper dispenser in a restroom. Yeah. These truckers are weird. There's some sick truckers out here.
Yeah. Well, and for me, if you notice what DeSantis was saying there, and if you really look at what the politicians are doing, none of them are standing up against the vaccines. They're standing up against the corruption that came from the vaccines, and they're standing up against the vaccine mandates.
He has spoken out against them, and if I had the other clip,
he's spoken out against them for
children. Spoken against them for the military.
But that's the mandates. The thing is that politically, with the current hand that's being dealt, you can't say the vaccines are bad. You can say the vaccine mandates are bad.
Well, we can. And
I'm saying for a politician that's running for office, that they can't alienate the 70% of the population that actually took the vaccines. They can speak out against the corruption, though. So you're going to start seeing corruption. You're going to start seeing more speak out against the bad scientific data that they did and stuff like that. You can't directly go after the vaccines, though, because You're basically saying that 70% of the country made a fucking stupid mistake, which in my opinion they did.
A fatal mistake, in my opinion, they did. But we don't give health advice. But so that's not health advice at all. I'm just saying that, yeah. Anyway, the thing is, there's 30% of us that stood strong, and then there's, of that 70%, a good percentage of them that took it under duress. And then there's a good percentage of the ones that took it also that are vaccine injured now and are completely against it. I see more and more of those every day. So
Yeah,
what do you do about that? The tide will turn.
It's one step at a time. Whenever the evidence is so overwhelming that the news can't ignore it anymore, that's where the shift is really going to take place. But I don't think that's going to happen for a while.
It might. I think the media is going to do some things that are a little bit unpredictable. We're seeing some things. The way that they're trying to defeat the alternative media, and this is covered really well in the propaganda report recently with Brad Binkley. But the way that the media is going right now is they're trying to regain credibility. And so they're going to start doing things to ask good questions, things like that. They're going to respond to their criticism. They're trying to gain their credibility back at this moment. It's kind of funny because I don't think they'll get it, but they're getting their butts handed to them by the alternative media. And the alternative media really grew and blossomed because of 9/11, and we've never seen the truth come out about that.
Yeah, no, there's gonna be a lot. If they go in that direction, we're gonna have a lot of fun watching journalists turn back into journalists, and it would be hilarious. And the only reason that I think that actually is happening is because of conversations like this. It's because of people like Tim Pool, Stick Hammer, even Ben Shapiro. They're building ginormous media companies and taking away all their clout. And so it'd be amazing if they get to the point in the next year or two that where they realize they can't lie anymore. It would be so fantastic if they have to double down, if they have to back off the lies, and then all of a sudden the entire news shifts into reality. I would love if that happens. I'm very skeptical that that will happen because that's the billionaire class giving up a lot of its power. That's the elites that are just trying to hold on to their money and not create, trying to hold on to their power.
My theory. Oh, good.
No, you go ahead. What were you saying?
Okay, my theory on the those media outlets, because they're not giving you the whole truth. They're giving you what's making it out into mainstream and is beyond ignoring. It's things that can't be ignored, just like the things that we've covered here. And so what they do is in a way they give a home to people that are seeing these obvious things, but they also keep them in the mainstream realm. I think that in order to really figure things out, you have to really head into the alternative media and check out shows like No Agenda, who really explains what's going on with everything that's happening in the news, and definitely listen to Media Monarchy every single day, because James really covers it well. He's on vacation right now. Well, he's relocating, but it's still a show worth tuning into, and the old episodes are still good, even if it's not relevant news at the moment.
So for some part of the conversation brings this to mind. It's a question about intent, and this is also part of why America came into being in the first place. Are you trying to control people, or are you trying to help people flourish? Are you trying to make them the best that they can be, or are you trying to be somebody that rules over others? It's a question about being a tyrant, and a lot of people that make a lot of money that that get to the point of making a lot of money fight their entire life so that they can be the boss of someone else. Those people are the people that are managers. They're the people that are sheep herders. They're not the people that are creators and innovators. And I feel like the media is realizing that the sheep are walking away and they're trying to corral the sheep in.
Yeah.
But I feel like the way that we get the momentum back, or I feel like the reason that Trump has to play the game he's playing, and I feel like the way that we get the momentum back is by getting power back into people's hands, is by looking at people and not saying you're a stupid effing idiot, rather than looking at people and saying there's potential in you. What can we do to bring that potential out? And it's one step at a time. But that's why there's certain things that these politicians, DeSantis and Trump, can't say, because you're turning a ginormous herd of sheep and you're trying to get them to go in the creative direction and stop acting like sheep. But right now, the population, for the most part, it's very sheep-like. This population, like, I this is an idea. I think that Trump is the best hope we have of getting the population to stop acting like sheep with one wolf in the crew. We've got two sheep and we've got a sheep and a wolf, and that old saying about democracy. Democracy is in a sheep and a wolf voting on who's going to be for supper. And
Right. It's two wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner.
There we go. That's what it is. Yeah. And we're getting to the point where I feel like Trump and the momentum Trump's built is going to shift the American nation back to that point, to where we are we're still technically the most productive nation in the world, but it's like 1/10 of the population is being productive, while the rest of them are sitting around asking people to tell them what to do. I don't want employees under me that just look to be told what to do. I want proactive people to work with. I want people that say, oh, look, this is a way we can solve this problem. Let's tackle this. I see this problem over here that you've not noticed. The best, like if you're a boss, the best employees you have are the ones that you don't have to manage. But whenever you're dealing with insecure people, which Biden and the Democrats, for the most part, seem to be insecure people, they look to control everybody around them. And a good boss can identify somebody that's secure in themselves, that's proactive, and just unleash them on the world. And I feel like we're on the cusp of getting to that point to where America can be the most productive place that's ever existed in the history of the world, or we're about to fall back into complete irrelevancy. We're on that teetering point.
So that goes into the question: is Trump a plant by the globalists to give people something to rally behind? Because he says a lot of things and does another. He's for the mass extermination campaign that is going to, a lot of these people are already losing it, and he's made his way that way. So why
if he was a plant, they would not have raided Mar-a-Lago.
Well, maybe they would have. He might have even had it done himself. It's done more to help him than harm him, for sure.
But that's the nature of authoritarians. Whenever they keep on lashing out, and then things start crumbling around them. I mean, Hitler would have been able to. Let's just go before Hitler. During World War I, the Germans would have won World War I if they'd not overstretched and sunk the Lithuania. The Lithuania sinking was the reason that the U.S. got involved in World War I.
You mean the Lusitania?
Lusitania, yeah. And all the old money lost its power. All these they didn't lose all their power, but all these old regimes, the Ottoman Empire completely dissolved at that time. It was the most powerful empire at that point. I think it was between it and England, but they started losing their power because they overstretched. They tried grabbing too much. They tried controlling too much. Like it's still the part. If you look at bit entrepreneurs and business guys, the guys that try to control everything around them cap themselves out because they're trying to manage too many things. They're trying to rule over people rather than enable people. And I feel like the reason that the US has been as successful as it has been in the past is because it's an area that does not try to rule over people. And right now, especially in light of Joe Biden's speech, the question is, are we going to allow these people to take the reins of power back, or are we going to stop them? That's goes with creativity. Um, that goes with what the amount of work that's being put into building these um, alternative communities and alternative business ideas is massive. They tried to shut down. There was this podcast venue that is an area that gets podcasters together and all this other stuff, and they tried to shut down the Daily Wire. That was one of their sponsors.
Oh, the convention.
Yeah, the convention.
Yeah. So they freaked out because Shapiro showed up.
Yes, and the person that complained about Shapiro there, the transgender person that complained about Shapiro being there, that person had, I think, 11 or 17 subscribers on Twitter.
Okay. Well,
And
that was a lot of show, and I don't. So I think these people have the power, but I don't think that they're winning. So you've got all of this woke nonsense, but you've got the people that wield power trying to enforce it. So they don't really have the control that they act like they do.
But that's generally all tyrants have a facade of control. It's only
the emperor has no clothes.
Yes, but the thing that encourages me so much about what happened with the Daily Wire is not the Daily Wire's response, but it's the people who saw what happened and their immediate, basically the people that watch the Daily Wire, people, libertarians, and all these other people. They saw Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire being attacked, and their first response was, "Well, I guess the Daily Wire has a new business it needs to build."
Right. Well, also, I don't think of Shapiro as being a controversial figure at all. I think he's very acceptable to the mainstream, and so they're going after him. They create the monsters that they want you to see them fighting. They wouldn't go after anybody that's got anything real to say.
Yeah, I think you're completely wrong with that. They've done everything they've gone to completely blacklist Alex Jones. Just saying.
Well,
They were able to get Milo Yiannakis. I can never pronounce his name.
I don't think Milo was really. I think Milo is just a scalp that they could throw up on their trophy wall.
But that's
and
they were able to knock him out. They weren't able to knock Alex Jones out, but it looks like.
And Alex has been more successful due to their attacks than anything.
Yes,
and so is Shapiro, and so is Crowder, and all of these guys have become more successful from their attacks.
Yeah, but that's my point. They're not winning on this as long as we continue to build and create. As long as we continue to produce and take action. They're the managerial class now.
Yeah. Well, they're not doing a very good job. So let's see. Let's close it out. I have a spinoff show that I haven't got to record yet. It's called The Doom Kitchen, and I'm going to have the Drizzle from Liberty Radio Grand Theft World Liberty Radio, which is one of my favorite programs and has a lot of great music in it. And I'm going to have him on the show as my first guest, and I'm very excited about it. I've had the AI robots design an intro song for it so far, but I haven't got the production down yet, and I've had a lot of stuff going on. Like my work clock, I'm allowed to work 70 hours within 8 days, and I've been running off recaps for about a week. But now I'm a little bit stopped right now, but I really want to get rid of this truck, so I'm hoping to get this thing turned in as fast as possible. It's a pigsty. But anyway, one of the things about that show is it always has music, and I really like highlighting music where something happened in the week, and these guys are coming out with something immediately after it happens. And it's amazing. So Loza Alexander, we've already featured him before, but I want to feature him again because I believe it was just yesterday or maybe the day before yesterday, he already got an anti Dark Brandon song out called Bitler, and I want you guys to subscribe to his YouTube for sure. And everything beyond this point is owned by Loza. I don't know how to give credit to the artist. I'm going to try to get that better in the description, because didn't you say that we got some sort of copyright strike?
Yeah, but it wasn't a copyright strike. It was just a copyright claim.
Well, we're not monetized, and I don't think we ever will be. So we're not making money off of this. We're just doing this for the purposes of promoting the cool artists that are doing cool stuff, just like Liberty Radio does. So that's one of the things I want to do the same thing that my wonderful hero, the Drizzle, is doing, and promote good music that's telling you what's really going on these days. So here we go with Bitler from Loza Alexander.
MAGA forces are determined to take this country backwards.
Shut up, Biden.
Backwards to an America where there is no right to choose, no right to privacy, no right to contraception, no right to marry who you love. They promote authoritarian leaders and they fan the flames of political violence.
Biden think he Hitler. Let's go, Brandy. Yeah, roll him like a switch. Biden think he Hitler. Let's put him on a banner. Yeah, new nickname Bitler. Biden think he Hitler. Let's go, Brandy. Yeah, roll him like a switch. Biden think he Hitler. Let's put him on a banner with his new nickname Bitler. And I say it so glad as I pull up in the scat pack. Loza train back with another diss track. Hell yeah. Joe Biden, you can suck off and suck off a cock. Talking like you finna bust off a shot. Talking about the democracy is under attack. Obviously, ever since you snuck in office, you been the one cutting us back. And if being a terrorist mean fighting for freedom and being the biggest voice, well, I'm the Taliban. Keep a Second Amendment, I keep a weapon intended to protect the women and children from the devil's hands. Loads of train coming like an avalanche. Boxing in the ring, need a towel man. Democrats need time for their hourglass, but they running out of time. Where y'all power at? It's gone, ain't it? Y'all scared cause you know we all dangerous. We just want the Constitution and everything you ruined, so give it back to us before we all spray up. Covered in red, whether Republican or blood, civil war in your head. These Democrats know what's up. Got panicking, knowing the world voting for the right. Biden stiff as a mannequin, get his ass out tonight. I think them Democrats is really in trouble. Behind that podium, talking in circles. Bitler. Biden, he the new age Hitler. Yeah, Bitler. Biden, he the new age Hitler. Biden think he Hitler. Let's go, Brandy. Yeah, roll him like a switch. Biden think he Hitler. Put him on a banner. Yeah, new nickname Bitler. Biden think he Hitler. Let's go, Brandy. Yeah, roll him like a switch. Biden think he Hitler. Put him on a banner with his new nickname Bitler. When we go to war in 2024, tell me who you voting for. Trump. Man, you already know. Hell yeah. MAGA gang to the flow up. Red. Like I'm dead. So much red in them rallies, we gon' make a commie throw up. Yeah. Keep talking. Fuck your pronouns, y'all grown ass men need to grow up. Here we go again, I'm gonna blow again. The copycat is finna come back from my throat again. It's over, man. The Loza train the best, and they know it, man. It only took me 3 hours just to write this poetry, so no offense to my enemies, too much talent blaring, they know it's me. Anybody who ever tried to call us out our name, body think MAGA the problem, don't say MAGA in vain. That is insane, bodies half sleep out of his brain. Wow. Body think he Hitler, Hitler. Let's go Granny, yeah. Roll him like a swisher. Body think he Hitler, Hitler. Let's put him on a banner, yeah. New nickname Bitler. Body think he Hitler, Hitler. Let's go Granny, yeah.